A verbal war over Aurangzeb's tomb in Maharashtra suddenly turned violent, and that too in Nagpur. Violence erupted in Nagpur late Monday night between two groups, and this led to vandalism. It resulted in arson. Several police personnel were injured. Maharashtra government called out the riot police, and Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis on the floor of the State Assembly said that the riots were pre-planned. He called it a conspiracy. He says it was a rumor that triggered the violence. But the bigger question that we're asking here on India Today is, how did a large number of people assemble? Where did they get access to incendiary material, to sticks and stones and to sharp-edged objects? And the bigger question, what was the Nagpur police doing when they knew the situation was tense and both sides had earlier approached the police and there was some kind of an agreement that was reached between both the sides? Why did one side then, later in the evening, turn violent?
Sword-wielding rioters, a cop attacked with an axe, sharp weapons, sacks full of stones, and masked men. Was the Nagpur violence pre-planned? Eyewitnesses say the mob that went on rampage over anti-Aurangzeb protests was armed to the teeth.
और तादाद बढ़ने के बाद उन्होंने फिर नुकसान करना चालू किया। बहुत सारे तादाद में जब लोग आए, पथराव किया। उनके पास पेट्रोल बॉम्ब भी थे, सादे जो सुतली बॉम्ब होते वो भी थे, और इन्होंने जलाने का प्रयास किया। जैसे वहाँ की गाड़ी देखे होंगे, वो जल नहीं रही तो उसमें पेट्रोल बॉम्ब डाल के उसको जलाने का प्रयास किया। यहाँ सारा तोड़फोड़ किया।
उनके हाथ में तलवारें भी थी सर, ये देखिए तलवार से तोड़ा है, पूरा तलवार से तोड़ा है, और ईंटें पत्थर और खिड़की के कांच भी फूटी है ऊपर की, और वहाँ पे सब गाड़ियाँ जमा करके और कार जमा 8-10 गाड़ियाँ जलाई उन्होंने और कार भी जलाई।
Maharashtra Chief Minister also hinted at a conspiracy.
काही ठराविक घरांना, काही ठराविक स्थापनांना त्या ठिकाणी लक्ष करण्यात आलेलं आहे, आणि जसं मी सांगितलं की यातल्या एका डीसीपीवर तर थेट कुऱ्हाडी निवार हा त्या ठिकाणी करण्यात आलेला आहे। त्यामुळे निश्चितपणे याच्यामध्ये काही ना काही एक प्रकारे काही लोकांचा सुनियोजित पॅटर्न हा देखील त्या ठिकाणी दिसतो आहे। अशा लोकांना त्या ठिकाणी त्यांच्यावर कारवाई ही केलीच जाईल।
How exactly did the situation escalate? Around noon on Monday, members of VHP and Bajrang Dal held a protest demanding the removal of Aurangzeb's tomb. They burnt an effigy of the Mughal ruler. Soon after, rumors began to swirl among the Muslim community. Close to 5 p.m., Muslim youth in the area started gathering. A couple of hours later, they hit the streets shouting slogans. Shortly after, some started pelting stones at the cops. Around 7:30 p.m., it was a full-blown riot.
शार्प जो वेपन्स या ऑब्जेक्ट्स बता रहे हैं ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था, क्योंकि मैं खुद वहाँ पे हाजिर था, मेरी पूरी फोर्स वहाँ पे थी, और जो वहाँ पे जो पथराव हुआ है, पथराव क्योंकि वहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रही थी, वहाँ पे जो भी स्टोन्स थे वो वहाँ पे पड़े हुए थे, क्योंकि एंटिसिपेटेड नहीं था ये। एक वो इंसिडेंट छोड़ दिया है क्योंकि वो अरेस्ट करने के लिए उनकी टीम के साथ में वहाँ पे गए थे, तो इसमें कोई क्रिमिनल जो है उसने उनके ऊपर अटैक किया। अब उसके ऊपर उस हिसाब से कार्रवाई की जा रही है।
Cars and bikes were burnt. People's homes were pelted with stones. Cops retaliated with lathi charge first, then resorted to tear gas.
How was the mob mobilized? How were the stones, swords and weapons gathered? Was the violence carefully planned? Did social media play a crucial role? Cyber Police is investigating more than 100 suspicious social media accounts. A full investigation will reveal the truth.
With Sumi Rajappan in Nagpur, Bureau Report, India Today.
And these are very serious questions that the Nagpur police and the Maharashtra government and administration will have to answer. Despite tensions being high, why were they caught napping? How could a riot take place? India Today's Mustafa Sheikh is on ground zero and he's showing you images of what transpired. He's spoken to a number of eyewitnesses. He's also spoken to victims whose motorcycles and cars, in one instance, a doctor's clinic and people's homes, an attempt was made to set them on fire.
We are in Nagpur. This area is Hansapuri. The violence which took place in Mahal area of Nagpur. After that, 2 hours later, there was a huge crowd of about 350 to 400 people covering their faces, raising slogans, having weapons in their hand. The sharp knife you can see is in the hands of one of the rioters accused, and the CCTVs have been broken. You can see these motorcycles of the residents have been burnt, and not only that, that crowd was violent. They were throwing stones, and at this point you can say that people who were living here, their residences, their houses, they were stone pelted at these houses. They were trying to get inside, but somehow these people were able to save their lives. आप जो कल का हादसा हुआ सुनील जी, उसके बाद ये कहेंगे कि जान आपकी बची है, क्या मंशा थी उन लोगों की?
उन लोग के तो वही पिक्चर थी कि कुछ ना कुछ घर जला दे। घर तो जल ही जाता था अगर हम अपने हाथ से पानी डाल डाल के नहीं बुझाते थे। घर तो क्योंकि इतनी गाड़ियां जली, हमने कैसे आजू बाजू के लोग ने सहयोग करके, उसके बाद पे अगर उन लोग का हाथ अगर हम आ जाते तो कि अंदर तक नहीं घुसे, तो दरवाजा तो वो गेट तोड़ के वो दरवाजा भी तोड़ के अंदर तक घुसे। हमने तो जैसे तैसे अंदर जाके दरवाजा बंद करके अंदर हो गए, लेकिन फिर भी हम नहीं हाथ पे आए तो इनका गाड़ियों का सत्यानाश कर दिए। बिल्कुल तो हमारा कर देते, पिक्चर खत्म।
यहीं and you can see it across that this is one house. Across also, if there are mobile videos which have come forward, so the crowd which was there turned violent, tried to break this the door of this house. The door of the house is broken, and the entire vicinity is somewhere you can say that they are scared. They are asking a lot of questions, and they are saying that what happened yesterday, they had not seen anything like this before. We were getting to hear that there was some protests which were happening regarding the grave of Aurangzeb, but it would take such a violent turn is something nobody expected. This is the lane where you can say that this entire crowd had come and this violence started. So there is one set of violence which took place at Mahal. There is another set of violence which took place here in Hansapuri. In Nagpur with camera person Kiran Sabkal, Mustafa Sheikh for India Today.
And I want to quickly cut across to India Today's Mustafa Sheikh, who joins us live with the latest from Nagpur. Mustafa, Nagpur by and large is considered very, very peaceful. It is the headquarters of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. The locality where you're reporting from has mixed community, and yet they've lived in harmony. What happened that it led to this violence? Because I am told that both the community members and leaders went to the police, including senior police officers. There was an agreement, everything was normal, and suddenly we are told a mob got together and rioting started. What happened? Can you take us through details of initial investigations?
Well, the details which has been shared by Nagpur Police, Gaurav, it seems that there were people who were rioters, who were protesters from the nearby areas. But at the same time, because there was crowd, there were some criminals who have taken advantage of this situation. An attack on DCP Zone 5 Niketan Kadam on his hand with a sharp knife is one of the evidences that there were some criminals, hardened criminals, who were involved. Because, the police really acted like a shield. They didn't let the two communities come in front of each other. There have been videos we have seen of people setting motorcycles ablaze, people trying to stone pelt and enter their houses. But you've also seen these rioters fully in open attacking policemen. They were throwing stones at them. They were attacking them with sharp knives. So that clearly shows the mindset. See, if there is a set of protesters who are saying that their religious sentiment have been hurt and they have been come on the streets, they are pelting, so it's different. But to assault a police officer, that to a level of a deputy commissioner of police,
Yes.
is the act of an hardened criminal, and that's where this theory of whether this attack, whether this entire protest was pre-planned, was part of a conspiracy, or was it really spontaneous? Because the way these people, about 300 to 400 people, not only at one location, at multiple locations, though within the 2-kilometer area or residence area of Nagpur, but they were able to gather, which means there was some communication on social media that we have to meet here, we have to gather here, we have to cover our faces, we have to carry weapon, whatever
Was
possible.
it some kind of a show of strength? That this may be RSS headquarters, but it's a show of strength and we will show you. Was it some kind of a show of strength as a matter of investigation? Mustafa will continue to report from ground zero, but Mustafa, stay with me. Mustafa and our team of reporters at India Today, we spoke to several eyewitnesses to piece together what happened, and we bring you their story. How a mob that was armed with sharp-edged weapons. They used those sharp-edged weapons not just to target the police, but even an attempt was made to beat down doors of doctors and civilians in that area. Cars were set on fire, scooters and motorcycles were set on fire. A clinic was vandalized and an attempt was made to set a home with people inside. An attempt was made to set that on fire. Rioters had their faces covered, all of it well planned, with incendiary material that they had got with them. Listening to the eyewitnesses.
पिछले चौक में 2 गुट आपस में घोषणाबाजी कर रहे थे। उनको पुलिस प्रोटेक्ट कर रही थी और पुलिस का कहना था कि यहाँ से आप निकल जाओ। जब पुलिस ने ज्यादा प्रेशर दिया तो वो गुट अपने अपनी गाड़ियों पे बैठ के एक बड़ा सा जत्था इस गलियों से होते हुए गुजरा और बड़े बड़े पत्थर मार के गाड़ियों को उन्होंने काफी नुकसान पहुंचाया। यहाँ का लोकल पर्सन ये जो भी गुट है ये बाहर से आए हुए हैं और उनका मंशा यही था कि यहाँ पब्लिक में ये करना, यहाँ तेड़ निर्माण करना, यहाँ आपस में रंजिश तैयार करना।
स्टार्टिंग में तो फ्लैग मार्च नहीं, उन लोगों ने मोर्चा निकाले। मोमेडियन लोग थे, बहुत 500,000 के करीब थे। वो कुछ तो भी बोलते गए और बाद में पता नहीं क्या हुआ तो एकदम आके पत्थर ही मारने लगे। हमारे घर पर भी पत्थर मारने लगे, पुलिसों को मारने लगे, जो मिला वो फेंकने लगे। हमारी गाड़ी गिरा दी, 2 व्हीलर्स गिरा दिए और सबकी गाड़ी फोड़ने लगे और हम लोग यहाँ में कुछ नहीं मिला तो हमारी गाड़ी को जला दिया। पहली बार ही देखा गया इतना, ये नहीं तो इसके पहले ऐसा कभी भी नहीं हुआ।
8 बजे के बाद जैसे चालू हुआ, पहले धीरे धीरे था, फिर बाद में बहुत तादाद बढ़ती गई और तादाद बढ़ने के बाद उन्होंने फिर नुकसान करना चालू किया। बहुत सारे तादाद में जब लोग आए, पथराव किया, उनके पास पेट्रोल बॉम्ब भी थे, सादे जो सुतली बॉम्ब होते वो भी थे और इन्होंने जलाने का प्रयास किया। जैसे वहां की गाड़ी देखे होंगे वो जल नहीं रही तो उसमें पेट्रोल बॉम्ब डाल के उसको जलाने का प्रयास किया। यहाँ सारा तोड़फोड़ किया, ऊपर तक पत्थर मारने का प्रयास उन्होंने किया है।
कितने लोग होंगे जो आए यहाँ पर और जिन्होंने?
नहीं 40-50 के ऊपर ही होंगे यार। हाँ, पुलिस कम थे मगर हाँ तब उसको यानी पुलिस को जानकारी नहीं थी कि ऐसा होगा करके, मगर वो मजमा इतना हो गया कि वो पुलिस भी कम गिर गए वहाँ पे।
और पुलिस वालों पर भी अटैक किया गया है, उन्हें भी लगातार इंजरी हुई है। 20 से अधिक जो है वो उन्हें
है और 500 लोग आएंगे तो पुलिस वाले भी कुछ नहीं कर सकते।
सही बात है,
ऐसा पूरा मजमा एक साथ निकला वहाँ से।
अच्छा, तो आप लोग सब कह रहे हैं कि ये प्री प्लान था?
हाँ, प्री प्लान था उनका 100%।
हमारे गली में इतने पत्थर ही नहीं है कहीं पे, पत्थर लेकर आए
पूरी की पूरी टीम आई, सबके हाथों में पूरे चेहरे थे उन लोग के, पूरे अपने अपने चेहरे ढके हुए थे, हाथ में तलवार, डंडे, बोतलें थी। उसके बाद एकाएक उस कॉर्नर पे उन्होंने हंगामा चालू कर दिया। उसके बाद में हंगामा के साथ साथ में लोगों के शटर, घर को फोड़ना, पत्थरें फेंकना, इतना पत्थरें फेंके। पत्थरों के साथ साथ में फिर लोग ना गाड़ियों को खींचकर फोड़ना चालू कर दिए हैं, खींचते गए और पूरा मुस्लिम नारे लग रहे थे। उनके हाथ में तलवारें भी थी सर, ये देखिए तलवार से तोड़ा है, पूरा तलवार से तोड़ा है और ईंटें पत्थर और खिड़की के कांच भी फूटी है ऊपर की। और वहाँ पे सब गाड़ियाँ जमा करके और कार जमा 8-10 गाड़ियाँ जलाई उन्होंने और कार भी जलाई।
लगभग रात के 10 बजे से यहाँ पर उपद्रवियों ने उपद्रव मचाना चालू करे थे और मेरे को यहाँ से फोन आए तो मैं यहाँ के जो PI है संजय सिंह, उनको फ़ोन लगाया लेकिन उन्होंने कोई रिस्पांस नहीं दिया। फिर मैं यहाँ के विधायक जी को फ़ोन करा और उन्होंने भी फिर बाद में यहाँ पर सिंह साहब को फोन लगाया और उसके बाद में भी 1 घंटे बाद में यहाँ पर वो आए, लेकिन वो 1 घंटे के दरमियान यहाँ पर चुन चुन कर खास लोगों के घरों को नुकसान पहुंचाया गया, उनको गाड़ियां जलाया गया और बहुत ही गंदी गंदी बातें बोले गई।
I want to quickly bring into this conversation Dr. Vikram Singh, former Director General of the Uttar Pradesh Police, for multiple aspects of what transpired in Nagpur late last night. Dr. Vikram Singh, as former Director General of Police, what do you make of what transpired from the information that's in public domain, from what the Chief Minister said on the floor of the Assembly and what eyewitnesses have just said, sir?
Gaurav ji, good evening. I have no reasons to contest the version given by the Honorable Chief Minister on the floor of the House, because he's privy to intelligence reports, and what your eyewitnesses have said is absolutely natural, first-hand, and there is no element of doctoring in them. That it was pre-planned, that there is a conspiracy, there is no doubt about that. I wish the Nagpur police, otherwise a very professional force, should have woken up to the fact that the communal threshold is pretty low and only a small spark will ignite and lead to a full-fledged riot, which indeed did happen. 2 DCP rank officers have been physically assaulted. Many policemen are injured. What more do you expect? And the rioters and the response was pretty slow. In the first place, when you knew that the threshold is low, when you knew that there's an agitation and people are collecting through crowdfunding and flash mobs, all the more reason that the police should have put the machinery in top gear and have given a befitting response. 50 arrests,
I want to take
no
this
innocent.
one by one, sir. We are told that both the communities, they approached the police after an issue with burning of some cloth. There was rumor mongering. Even if there is a rumor, can a rumor lead to a riot? Because the question that we want to ask and make clearly in India, there cannot be a right to riot. If there is rumor mongering, clarify things with the police. Can't resort to burning cars, burning motorcycles, taking law in your hands, targeting the police, and attempting to burn down houses of people you claim have been your neighbors for a very long time just because there was a rumor.
Gaurav ji, you very rightly mentioned, and in so many words, rumor mongering cannot be the basis of any writing. Clarify from the authorities, and the authorities are there to redress your grievances. All the more reason I would say that the police have all the 4 aces in their hands. It is they who will decide who will come out and who will not. Imposition of Section 163 BNSS, the successor to 144 CRPC, came about rather late. Curfew imposed rather late. Arrest too few. There should have been 300 arrests by now. And imposition of NSA and Makoka should have happened by now. And all those troublemakers, the top 10, should not only have been behind bars, but the property confiscation should also have happened. And press release of another top 25 with a reward of 1 lakh rupees on them should have been out. The police have playing this with the kid gloves. I'm sorry to say that. Communal situation is one thing. And to your interest, I would say that look at Sambhal, look at Mau, look at Delhi, and compare this. There is an eerie similarity among all these 4 riots: preparation, planning, assault, same weapons, assault the police officers, brick bats. Of course, there is building because it is difficult to find any locality. We are not living in Sahara. Every locality has building constructions going on. But what did give you the right to have an axe and attack a DCP rank officer? I would commend these officers that in spite of having the paramilitary and the automatic weapons, they used proportionate force and absolute controlled use of force, that was just tear gas and lathi charge. And yes, had this happened in UP somewhere, I can assure you things would have been very, very different by now. Not only the curfew, police would have taken over the locality and ensured area domination, which is the requirement now. Where did the weapons come from?
You've raised a very pertinent point, and this is where, when even within the BJP there is conversation about Devendra Fadnavis as Maharashtra Chief Minister and Yogi Adityanath as Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, somewhere down the line, perhaps this is a litmus test: who handles law and order better and ensures that the rule of law prevails and there is order, and that nobody is treated with kid gloves. Because here, as you very rightly point out, sir, it does appear as if, first there is a riot on the basis of a rumor, and then there is an attempt to justify it by some, and especially there are some political parties who are trying to say कि औरंगजेब के नाम पर भय पैदा किया जा रहा है. Does that surprise you, sir?
It shocks me. It doesn't surprise me. It shocks me. And there are those fishing in troubled waters. One line of advice to them would be that those that play with the sword shall perish with the sword. Those who are trying to dilute the issues by saying Aurangzeb on the basis of Aurangzeb's name, people are spreading hatred. One, not a word of in respect of the stand the difference between the aggressor and the aggrieved. You do not have the moral strength even to name the aggressors or to condemn their acts and the wanton destruction of property here, the Ram Navami shops, the homes, desecrating the other places, and also burning not only the vehicles but 2 JCBs. Not a word of condemnation. And to say that Aurangzeb as if he is a holy cow, it is known fact, it is difficult to find a worse tyrant than Aurangzeb. Maybe Genghis Khan would be some equal. But the fact of the matter is, it is difficult. He gets the trophy for being the most cruel tyrant the world has ever seen. Read Jadunath Sarkar, the history of Aurangzeb, and you will realize what kind of a tyrant he was. And to say that you do not have the moral courage even to say that those in the name of anyone, but flash mobs, crowdfunding, rumor mongering, all contributed to this thing. And the police should have acted with a firmness that should have been exemplary and taught a lesson to the rioters, especially those who attack senior police officers with an axe and brickbats.
Sir, stay with me for a moment. I want our viewers to listen to the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, who insists this is a well-planned conspiracy. And on what basis is he saying it? Hear him.
एक अफवा अशी पसरवली गेली की सकाळच्या आंदोलनात जी प्रतिकात्मक कबर झाली त्याच्या कापडावर धार्मिक मजकूर होता. अत्तरोळ मधील नमाज आटोपून 200 ते 250 चा जमाव हा त्या ठिकाणी तयार झाला आणि नारे देऊ लागला. याच लोकांनी आग लावून टाकू असे हिंसक बोलणे प्रारंभ केल्याने पोलिसांनी त्या ठिकाणी बळाचा वापर केला. यापूर्वी बजरंग दलाच्या कार्यकर्त्यांविरुद्ध तक्रार द्यायची आहे अशी मागणी करण्यात आल्याने त्यांना गणेशपेठ पोलीस ठाण्यामध्ये आमंत्रित करण्यात आलं. त्यांची तक्रार ऐकून घेण्यात आली.
पोलीस आले. पोलिसांवर देखील दगडफेक झाली. 4 DCP अतिशय गंभीररित्या जखमी आहेत. काही लोकांना दगडांनी दगडफेक केल्यामुळे जखमी झालेत. काही लोकांना तर मला समजलं की कुऱ्हाडीचा वार देखील त्या ठिकाणी केला. हत्यारं होती. पेट्रोल बॉम्ब टाकले गेले. आणि हे सगळं जे काही घडलेलं आहे ते असं वाटतं की पूर्वनियोजित एक साजिश होती.
And Uddhav Thackeray has launched a big attack on the Devendra Fadnavis government after riots and violence in Nagpur. Uddhav Thackeray, leader of the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray faction, says Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis comes from Nagpur. The RSS headquarters, the headquarters of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh is in Nagpur. Why is it that Hindus in Nagpur are still in danger? Uddhav Thackeray then asks, why was the Devendra Fadnavis government sleeping if these clashes, as he claims, are well planned and orchestrated? Listen in to Uddhav Thackeray. I'll get you more on this big story.
तो मुख्यमंत्री जो है, मुख्यमंत्री जी को पूछो किसका हाथ है, क्योंकि आरएसएस का मुख्यालय वहां है. अब इनके कार्यकाल में वहां डबल इंजन सरकार है ना, महाराष्ट्र में और केंद्र में. तो डबल इंजन सरकार की असफलता है, और अगर ये सरकार असफल है तो इन्होंने इस्तीफा देना चाहिए. गृहमंत्र्यांचं गृह म्हणजे गृहमंत्र्यांचं घर हे नागपूर आहे. आरएसएसचं मुख्य कार्यालय नागपूर आहे. अशा या नागपूरमध्ये हिंदू खतरे में कसा काय? मग इतके वर्ष तुम्ही केलं तरी काय नेमकं? मग पूर्वनियोजित असेल तर तुमचं गृह खातं झोपा काढत होतं का? हा पूर्वनियोजित कट तुमच्या कानावर आला का नाही? आणि जर आला असेल तर तुम्ही त्याच्याकडे दुर्लक्ष केलं का? या सगळ्या एका प्रश्नामध्ये अनेक प्रश्न दडलेले आहेत.
And before I bring in Dr. Vikram Singh once again and I get you more reactions on this story, I want to take you through some of the political reactions that are coming in, because there's now a massive political showdown in Maharashtra. The government and the opposition, they've locked horns. Even as investigations get underway, the chief minister has said that these riots were pre-planned. The opposition is saying if these riots were pre-planned, then both the police and the administration were sleeping and the chief minister should resign. We get you more in this report.
Armed with sticks, faces covered with scarves. Rioters went on rampage in Nagpur on Monday, vandalizing cars, setting vehicles on fire. A day later, politicians are busy in a blame game. The Mahayuti government alleged a conspiracy.
राज्यामध्ये लोकांच्या भावना देखील खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात त्या ठिकाणी एक प्रकारे प्रज्वलित झालेल्या आहेत. औरंगजेबाबद्दलचा जो काही राग आहे तो रागही खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात त्या ठिकाणी बाहेर येतोय. या सगळ्या गोष्टी आपल्या ठिकाणी असल्या तरी मला असं वाटतं की महाराष्ट्रात कायदा आणि सुव्यवस्था राखणं हे अत्यंत महत्त्वाचं आहे. त्यामुळे सर्वांनी संयम बाळगला पाहिजे.
लोकांना तर मला समजलं की कुऱ्हाडीचा वार देखील त्या ठिकाणी केला, हत्यारं होती, पेट्रोल बॉम्ब टाकले गेले आणि हे सगळं जे काही घडलेलं आहे ते असं वाटतं की पूर्वनियोजित एक साजिश होती.
Some in the ruling coalition claimed opposition hand.
विशिष्ट धर्मीय लोग गुट से जमा होते हैं, बस्ती पे पत्थर मारते हैं, कुल्हाड़ी से पुलिस लोगों को मारते हैं, सरनेम देख के पत्थरबाजी करके गाड़ियां तोड़ते हैं. 2 दिन से महाराष्ट्र के विपक्ष के नेता जो बयानबाजी कर रहे हैं, दंगल होगा, क्या उनकी ये साजिश है? क्या उनकी जांच होनी चाहिए? जो लोग पकड़े हैं उनकी जांच होनी चाहिए. उसके पीछे कौन है?
The opposition, on the other hand, attacked the Fadnavis government, accusing the ruling coalition of instigating the violent clashes.
इस प्रकार के जो बयानबाजी जो कर रहे सरकार के नजदीक के लोग, उनको माननीय मुख्यमंत्री ने हिदायत देना चाहिए कि इस प्रकार की बयानबाजी ना करें, ताकि महाराष्ट्र का वातावरण शांततापूर्वक बना रहे और इस प्रकार की घटना महाराष्ट्र में कहाँ भी नहीं घटना चाहिए. उसके लिए उन्होंने उनके जो नजदीक के सब लोग हैं उनको हिदायत देना चाहिए.
Nagpur's Guardian Minister Chandrasekhar Bawankule appealed for peace.
जिन लोगों ने भी वो स्थिति निर्माण की है उनको कड़ी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए. हमारा पुलिस प्रशासन वहां पर काम कर रहा है. कुछ हमारे पुलिस भाई भी जख्मी हुए हैं, लेकिन माननीय देवेंद्र जी ने, माननीय हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जी ने और हमने सबने पुलिस को कहा है कि किसी को ना छोड़े, किसी को ना बख्शे.
Nagpur is calm after the mayhem on Monday, after many areas of the city were put under curfew. With Ritvik Bhalekar, Abhijit Karande and Piyush Mishra, Bureau Report, India Today.
Dr. Vikram Singh, the manner in which JCBs were set on fire, two-wheelers and multiple two-wheelers were set on fire, cars were set on fire, an attempt was made to target homes, the main entrance was set on fire, windows were on fire. Does this indicate that, the mob just picked up petrol or incendiary material from anywhere? Or in your long experience, does it appear that whether it's sharp-edged weapons or incendiary material or fuel, whatever it was, carefully put together? Because there are some eyewitnesses who say they had crude bombs. Sutli bum unke paas the, is what one of the eyewitnesses said. Molotov cocktails they had. What does all of this indicate, sir?
Gaurav ji, you have seen, you are such a seasoned journalist yourself. Let us compare Sambhal, Mau, Delhi riots and this riot. There seems to be an eerie similarity amongst all the four: preparation, planning and conspiracy. As also keeping brickbats, Molotov cocktails, weapons like swords, etc. and brickbats, and trying to conceal their faces so that they're not covered by the police CCTVs and the facial recognition software. It happened in all the 4 cases. And now also, so it goes to show the deep conspiracy and also the planning behind it. I have no doubt in my mind, and I'm sure the police should work on these lines and see to it who are the conspirators. about the politicians, the less said the better. Instead of taking the bull by the four-horn, they are fishing in troubled waters. They are scared. They don't have it in them to name the culprits. Whoever the aggressor is should be taken to task in the next 24 hours, announce rewards of them. They will not say it because they're trying to make political capital out of this situation. Fishing in troubled waters is their USP, and they are the best at that.
But what you say, sir, is very alarming, and it's a point for our viewers to ponder. There were riots in Delhi over Citizenship Amendment Act. There was nothing against Indian Muslims in CAA, but an entire narrative was built that CAA is anti-Muslim, and then you had these Shaheen Baghdadis and so and blocking traffic. So rumor mongering, false news and fake information led to riots in Delhi. The Sambal riots, the riots that took place in Uttar Pradesh subsequently because of CAA. Sambal, again, rumor mongering that led to people assembling and targeting the security forces. What's happened in Nagpur right now? Sir, can you join the dots? Can there be a common thread that rumors are spread? People come out of a certain, dispensation, come out on the streets, and then there are riots, or there is arson and there is violence. They may disperse then, but does it point to an attempt is being made that tension key is simmering?
Absolutely. You see, there's a similarity also. Collection of flash mobs, preparation, and then to attack those in uniform, including senior police officers, in a most brazen manner, and just to do the disappearing tricks. And last but not the least, trying to cover up your faces and escape wearing track pants and also jogging shoes is indicative of the fact that you have come fully prepared and armed to face a situation and create a situation. Therefore, I would say that the PI funding and the former cadres of the PFI and Indian Mujahideen will have to be examined for their acts in all these 4 riots.
Sir, I hope the agencies are listening. Very sane advice that's coming from you. But will they act, and will they act in a decisive manner to ensure that, God forbid, there isn't another flashpoint or a riot-like situation? I also want our political leaders to put their heads together, because they may want to bicker and gain political brownie points, but what will that ultimately lead to? Listen in to how our political leadership is reacting.
मैं तो ऐसी कोई भी चीज की वायलेंस को हम सपोर्ट नहीं करते हैं, क्योंकि इससे देश का नुकसान है। इसमें जो भी हो रहा है उससे आम लोगों को काफी परेशानी उठानी पड़ रही है, और इसके लिए सरकार ने तहकीकात शुरू की है। कई लोगों को हिरासत में लिया गया है, उसमें सच्चाई सामने आएगी, उस पर कार्रवाई होगी।
मुख्यमंत्री ने कहा है कि जो भी औरंगजेब का महिमा मंडन करेगा हम उसको चीर फाड़ देंगे। आप उसको किस तरह से देखते हैं?
देखिए, मैं इसमें इस कंट्रोवर्सी में जाना नहीं चाहता हूं। औरंगजेब का उस वक्त का प्रशासन, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, उसकी क्रूरता, ये तो इतिहास में जग जाहिर है, तो इसकी प्रशंसा तो कोई करेगा ही नहीं। वो तो इतिहास, भले इतिहास में जो भी लिखा गया है उसकी कोई प्रशंसा तो करने लायक तो चीज है ही नहीं। पर आज उसको लेकर बवाल जो उठाया जा रहा है या उसके ऊपर जो भी चीजें हो रही है वो समर्थन के लायक निश्चित नहीं है।
जिस तरीके का हादसा कल नागपुर में हुआ उसकी भी मैं निंदा करता हूं कि ये औरंगजेब का मसला अभी 15 दिन तक चलेगा, ऐसा लगता है। आज का हाउस भी उस पर ही चलेगा। और जो लोग आज, जो संगठनाएं औरंगजेब की कब्र हटाने के लिए आगे आ रही है नागपुर में, उन संगठनाओं से मेरा सीधा सवाल है, प्रशांत कोरटकर जिस दरिंदे ने शिवाजी महाराज पे गलत बयान किया था, उसकी कब्र खोदने की हिम्मत आप में है क्या? और टी राजा जैसे लोग इस महाराष्ट्र में आके जो आवाम में दंगे भड़काने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं, मैं टी राजा को भी चैलेंज करता हूं, अगर टी राजा में हिम्मत हो तो हाथ में कुदड़ फावड़ा लेके आगे जाए और खुद के बेटे को लेके जाके औरंगजेब की कब्र खोदे, लेकिन महाराष्ट्र का इस तरीके का माहौल खराब ना करे।
And Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, he showed solidarity with the police who were targeted. He spoke to the police officer who was attacked with a sharp-edged weapon, apparently by a hardened criminal who was a part of this mob. Listen in.
हो सर, कुराडीचा गाव आहे सर, डीप आहे।
अच्छा, हातावर लागला।
यस सर, हातावर आहे सर।
अच्छा, मग आता प्लास्टिक सर्जरी केली, काय केलं त्याच्यामध्ये?
हो सर, प्लास्टिक सर्जरी केली, पण केली सर, काही नर्व्स वगैरे डॅमेज झाल्या नाही।
चला, व्हेरी गुड। आणि ठीक आहे, तुम्ही चांगलं तिथे समोर गेलात आणि सगळ्यांचा सामना केला, त्याबद्दल तुमचं अभिनंदन आहे. आणि आम्ही सगळे तुमच्या पाठीशी आहोत आणि लवकर लवकर तुम्ही ठीक व्हावं अशी आमची प्रार्थना आहे. आणि अशाच प्रकारे नेहमी तुम्ही चांगलं काम कराल अशी बिलकुल ईश्वरचरणी प्रार्थना आहे.
थँक्यू सर.
ओके, ऑल द बेस्ट, ऑल द बेस्ट.
We will continue to track developments on the story very closely. Mustafa Sheikh and Dr. Vikram Singh for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. US President Donald Trump, in a while from now, will be speaking to the Russian President Vladimir Putin, and their effort will be to find middle ground, an attempt to end the war in Ukraine. And this crucial phone call will take place between 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. IST. Now, Russia also sought ironclad guarantees that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization nations will exclude Kiev from its membership and that Ukraine will remain neutral. So ahead of this scheduled conversation, Donald Trump, who's been pushing both Russia and Ukraine to talk peace and find middle ground, took to his social media platform Truth Social to say many elements of a peace agreement in Ukraine have been agreed to with Russia, but much remains. Each week brings 2,500 soldiers' death from both sides, and it must end now. I look forward very much to the call with President Putin, unquote. This is what the American president said. The United States has proposed a 30-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has indicated he's on board. Moscow has also agreed to this in principle. But the Russian president is very clear that certain conditions must be addressed before signing any agreement to end the war that's been on for the past 3 years and counting. Earlier this month, US and Russian delegations had a long meeting in Saudi Arabia. Both the countries have agreed to mend fences, and that's the first step that's being taken after the Biden administration and the Putin administration locked horns over Russia's special operations in Ukraine and NATO help to Ukraine to hit back. A lot of reactions are coming in, but let me first take you through some of the statements that have been made in the past by President Trump. He's spoken about how he'd be able to broker peace, but he wants everyone to be on the same page. Listen in to what President Trump said earlier, what President Putin said, and what President Zelensky said.
You know, a big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that. That's been like written in stone. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably maybe he wants to keep the gravy train going. I don't know what's the problem, but he hasn't been able. He's very upset that he wasn't invited. He could have come if he wanted to, but that he wasn't invited to Saudi Arabia. But he's been working for 3 years. There's never been even meetings or phone calls to stop this war. It's a horrible thing. Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine. Well, we have martial law, essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating.
Нынешним президентом США. Не могу не согласиться с ним в том, что если бы он был президентом, если бы у него в 2020 году не украли победу, то, может быть, и не было бы того кризиса на Украине, который возник в 2022 году.
Ну, тобто, на жаль, президент Трамп з великою повагою до нього відносимося як до лідера народу, який ми дуже поважаємо, американський народ, який нас постійно підтримує. На жаль, живе в цьому дезінформаційному просторі.
I want to quickly cut across and bring in India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on this very difficult road to peace. Geeta and I have both reported from Russia and from Ukraine during the conflict and after the conflict. Geeta, bring us details about how President Trump intends to steer this conversation with President Putin. What are the guarantees that President Putin is seeking? And can we hope to dare there will be a ceasefire? There will be respite from conflict? Geeta, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Brilliant. Geeta, steer us through, what the conversation is likely to be like, and can we hope there will be breakthrough? There'll be a breakthrough?
Well, I can barely make out what you're saying, but if you're asking if there's going to be a breakthrough and what the conversation is going to be like, Gaurav, it is very clear that President Trump over here wants to engage Putin to find a way forward. He does want peace to ensure that what he wants from Ukraine is a deal on the critical minerals, and that he should be able to get that. And Putin certainly over here. The Kremlin has made it very clear that all the current issues would be on the agenda. They will be looking at and looking to finding a deal where there could be truce. For President Putin, there are a few non-negotiables that have already been spelled out to the United States of America. Something that is in the lines of what Trump has already said in the past. Ukraine cannot be a part of NATO, about NATO expansion, the role of NATO, foreign forces being on Ukrainian soil. These are an absolute no-go for President Trump, and he has made that explicitly clear. Also, what is going to be a very important aspect of the conversation is the land. The areas that are now under Russian control, will Russia walk back? There's the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. We were speaking to IAEA chief today in an exclusive conversation. He did say that it's in the front line. It's a sensitive zone. There needs to be clarity and peace to ensure that this nuclear power plant is not impacted and affected. And so there will be conversation on that as well. At the end of the day, there will be a massive compromise that Ukraine will have to make when it comes to land. But what and to what extent would that compromise be, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. What about Europe? Countries like France, countries like Germany and England, will they ultimately fall in line? Because many commentators say that they actually appear to be egging Ukraine to continue to fight and that they will continue to supply weapons. Where will those weapons and funds come from is another story. But will Europe fall in line?
Well, Gaurav, you're absolutely not audible. You'll have to just very briefly tell me what you want.
Okay, I'll come back to Geeta in just a moment as we try and fix that audio link, because a breakthrough is what is expected in the Russia-Ukraine war. President Putin has laid down his conditions. He will, of course, agree to a 30-day ceasefire if there is an agreement that Ukraine will not be a part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that there will be no foreign interference, and there's a lot more that our next report tells you about.
Russia finally breaks its silence on the 30-day ceasefire proposed by the US and Ukraine. Agreeing in principle, Russian President Vladimir Putin reiterated the terms and nuances are yet to be worked out in the peace deal.
We agree with the proposals to cease hostilities, but we proceed from the fact that this cessation should be such that it would lead to long-term peace and would eliminate the original causes of this crisis. We should discuss it with our US partners. Maybe we should have a call with President Trump and discuss it with him. But we support the idea itself to finish the conflict in a peaceful way.
Putin laid out a string of conditions for Russia agreed to a temporary ceasefire in the war. He suggested Ukraine halt mobilization and any training of its troops. Putin demanded a stop to military aid provided by the US to Ukraine and sought international recognition of Russian occupation of Ukrainian areas. And finally, Putin wanted the root cause of the conflict to be weeded out to bring peace.
If we halt the hostilities for 30 days, what will it mean? Will all those who are there come out without a fight? Should we just let them out after all the crimes against civilians they committed? Or will the Ukrainian leadership order them to lay down arms and simply surrender? How will this work? It's not clear.
Ukraine claims Russia is looking to reject the ceasefire deal.
Дуже
маніпулятивні слова Путіна у відповідь на
He is in fact preparing a rejection at present because Putin is of course scared to tell President Trump that he wants to continue this war, that he wants to kill Ukrainians.
що хоче продовжувати цю війну.
Значит, эти 30 суток будут как использоваться?
Will they use 30 days to continue compulsory mobilization, to supply weapons, to train those who were mobilized, or will it not be done?
Принудительная мобилизация?
Amid the peace talks, US President Donald Trump met with the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in the White House.
Ukraine has agreed, subject to this, what's happening today, to a complete ceasefire, and we hope Russia will do the same. We know where we are with Ukraine, and we are getting good signals outside of Russia as to where we are with Russia, and hopefully they'll do the right thing.
With Putin putting conditions, it might take more time for Trump to stitch together a peace pact and end the 3-year-old war. Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to end 5 Live on a happier note. Cassandra May Spitman, a blind German singer, saw her life transform forever after Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned her in his monthly radio program Man Ki Baat. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi once again praised her for her dedication, for spreading the Indian culture through music. She'd said thank you to the Prime Minister earlier. I want you to take a look at how her life changed, how she sees her life change after that Man Ki Baat episode. Take a look.
नमस्कार, मन की बात में आप सबका स्वागत है।
योगेश्वराय महादेवाय त्रयंबकाय त्रिपुरांतकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकंठाय मृत्युंजयाय सर्वेश्वराय।
ये सुरीली आवाज जर्मनी की एक बेटी की है। इस बिटिया का नाम कैसमी है कि वे कई सारी भारतीय भाषाओं में गाने में महारत हासिल कर चुकी है। जन्म से ही देख नहीं पाती है। ये मुश्किल चुनौती उन्हें असाधारण उपलब्धियों से रोक नहीं पाई।
When I heard that Narendra Modi ji was mentioning me in his Man Ki Baat, it definitely meant the world to me. I just couldn't believe it. And I was so baffled by it. Like, I didn't know what to say for some minutes. I was just speechless. It changed my life a lot. There was actually so much media going on, like also in Germany. It was 10 to 20 interviews a day. So last year, I got actually the call from the Prime Minister's office telling me, okay, he wants to meet you. Where we met, he was being very kind to me. Like, he cracked jokes and it was very funny. He is a huge politician in the world. I really kind of see it as a role model that he presents himself still as a human being. I'm very grateful for him for mentioning me, because I would never have thought that he would like my song so much, that he would see the love I have for India, and I still can't believe it. It's still unreal. I'm just very happy. I really love music and spirituality, so I love you, India. Hey, Bhola Shankara, avadu tula belachi, belacha panachi.